Hello there and welcome. You're watching Arise News Now, coming to you from Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos. I'm Ni Wei Lo. Our top story this hour.
Think about what's trying to do to me. Think let your mind go, let yourself be free. Oh, freedom, freedom, freedom.
Indeed, ever-changing times, Queen of Soul Aretha Franklin is dead. We begin in the U.S., where tributes are being paid after legendary singer Aretha Franklin died aged 76. Revered as the Queen of Soul, she is the first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You better think about what's trying to do to me. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Oh, freedom.
Well, she is free. Yes, the legendary singer was diagnosed with cancer in 2010 and announced last year she was retiring from music. Known for hits like Respect and Think, she had more than 20 US #1s over a career spanning 7 decades. She gave her final performance last November at a gala in New York held in aid of the Elton John AIDS Foundation. Born in Memphis to a gospel singer, pianist, and a celebrated Baptist preacher, Franklin was tutored from an early age by such gospel stars as Mahalia Jackson and Clara Ward. She struggled to find fame in the early years with the record label Columbia unsure how to frame her impressively powerful voice. A move to Atlantic Records in 1966 saw her paired with the famed Muscle Shoals rhythm section, prompting some of the most soulful and furious performances. By 1968, she was renowned throughout America and Europe as Lady Soul, a symbol of black pride who appeared on the cover of Time and was given an award by Martin Luther King. After an eye-catching cameo in cult comedy The Blues Brothers, she scored a number of big hits in the 1980s, including Who's Assuming Who and the George Michael duet I Knew You Were Waiting for Me. She was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President George W. Bush in 2005 when she was saluted for capturing the hearts of millions of Americans. 10 years later, she reduced President Barack Obama to tears when she sang You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman at a Kennedy Center honors ceremony, having previously performed at his inauguration.
Looking out on the morning rain, I used to feel
Now, who could forget that soulful voice? Let's reminisce on the life and times of Aretha Franklin. Now, through the eyes of the old and younger generation, my colleague Indi Amugo is here in the studio, while Arise correspondent Adia Eisen joins us from our London studio. Let me start with you, Adia. Aretha Franklin certainly made her mark in America's music industry and the country's undisputed queen of soul. Your thoughts?
Absolutely, Nee. Wow, today is definitely a very tragic day because we've definitely lost one of the giants of the pop music industry. I know that the word legend is used, very loosely, but she was a true legend in every sense of the word. And this is a woman that was relevant across various genres. So we're talking, rock and roll, as you mentioned, she was the first woman to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She was, relevant in pop music, R&B, blues, jazz. She was also a very strong woman who was a voice for a lot of Black African American women and women all across the world. So this is definitely a great loss for her, but for the whole world, for her family. She was a proud mother of 4 sons, and today could definitely, it's not an easy day for us, but it's definitely not an easy day for those close to her and her family, because, a true star was definitely lost today.
Not an easy day for all of us. Now, Indi, her health had been declining for some time now, despite a career spanning almost 7 decades. What do you make of that?
Quite interesting, really. The nephew said a few days before her death that sorry, if you catch me tearing up, when she was singing that song, it made me feel like a natural woman. I just had goosebumps all of my body. So if you catch me tearing up, it's just the feeling of what she communicates through her music. Her nephew is saying she was all smile, she was all lively, and she said they felt she was going to pull through, and she said herself that she was going to pull through, only for this to happen to her. She started suffering pancreatic cancer, year 2010. Now, let me capture for you who we're talking about here. She's had 39 albums, 20 #1 R&B singles, 44 Grammy nominations. Out of the 44, she won in 18 of them. That's just a picture that encapsulates who Aretha Franklin is. Her music changed, caused social change, and believe you me, caused a president to tear up. I'm talking about Barack Obama, when she sang "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman." That's the kind of person. She doesn't just sing, she croons, if you know what I mean by that. And at the AIDS Foundation of Elton John, where she sang, that was why she was described as the greatest singer that ever lived. That's Aretha Franklin.
Indeed. Now, Adia, singer Mary J. Blige says Aretha is the reason why women want to sing in the US. Her power and technique. Those are strong words from a music icon, don't you think?
Absolutely. What we do know is that, she had that that rare 4-octave range, and that's not really common amongst a lot of musicians. And just the way she even started her career, from gaining inspiration from a lot of ministers and gospel artists that came to her house because her father was a minister, and releasing her own album at the age of 14, being signed to Columbia Records at the age of 18. Her career path is extremely inspiring. Who she's broken ceilings and barriers for now, and it's allowed a lot of women opportunities that might not be available to them otherwise. So I think that she's definitely more than a legend. She's been a role model and inspiration. She's taught women to have a voice for themselves and be strong. Her song R-E-S-P-E-C-T, I mimed to that as a little girl, and I know that a lot of girls around the world will definitely remember that song for the rest of their lives, because it was a classic. And I think she didn't just make music. I think she has left a legacy that, you know, will be around for a very, very, very long time.
Not just a legacy, but a void as well. Idia, many thanks for that. Andy, you want to say something as well?
I wanted to get that from where she stopped, you know. Some of the songs that stood Aretha out, Aretha, it must be said, was what you could describe as a late bloomer. She didn't start early, but between the years 1967 to 1970, when she signed with Atlantic Records, it was like she just burst. And some of the songs, I just tell you some of the songs that stood her out. You had "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman" that made Obama tear up. I just talked about it a while ago. "Say a Little Prayer" was done in 1968. The original version was done by Dionne Warwick, the aunt of the late Whitney Houston. You know, "Respect" was done in 1967. "Respect" is a song that turned Otis Redding's original she turned it into what you could call an unapologetic form of statement, particularly in these days of a hashtag Time's Up movement and you know, the woman movement generally. So she was saying there earlier on that she made quite a lot of women stand out, you know, want to speak up, want to do what they are known for doing. Some of her songs, again, I think, was done in 1968. "I Never Loved a Man the Way I Loved You" in 1967, and you had "Chain of Fools." I could just keep on reeling. I was listening to one of her songs before I came on air here, you know, where she was singing "Jump, Jump, Jump to It." Fantastic song. Just days back, I was actually listening to this song, and now I just started to listen to it again. Aretha Franklin, boy, she was a crooner.
Was indeed. Now we have a live visual of Aretha Franklin, Hollywood fame star, which is currently in downtown Los Angeles. You're looking at right now, and we can see quite a number of people walking along the streets just to have a feel of the late star's presence. All right, and we can just about see "Rest in Peace" sign, Aretha Franklin there, moving every now and then on the... This is the Apollo studio. All right, Idia, what do you think she will be greatly... Yes, what do you think she will be greatly remembered for, not only in the world of music?
Honestly, before I even talk about being remembered around the world, I have to say that personally, she's been a huge inspiration to me. I remember graduating in 2012 from New York University, and she was being honored with a doctorate at my university. So, you know, she's always been a very powerful woman, you know, a symbol for someone that, you know, is perseverant and strong. And she had so much fire, not just in her voice, but in the things that she stood for. If you remember clearly, the inauguration in 2009 came to a standstill when she came on that stage. It was a different reception from the reception that people showed Barack Obama. So she was a symbol for women. She was a symbol of freedom. She was a symbol for hope all over the world. And I think that those are some of the things that she will never be forgotten for. The fact that she was self-taught as a pianist is something that a lot of people often overlook. She couldn't even read music when she learned how to play the piano. So there's just all these little details. She won 20 Grammy Awards, not even 18. You know, there's all these little details that are just so important about her, about the things that she did, the lives that she impacted with and without her music. And it's just so... It's so inspiring, traveling with Martin Luther King and even singing at his funeral when he died, just opportunities that Black people were never given at that time. Aretha Franklin shot through all those ceilings as a Black woman in America. It's a huge deal, and these are things that we will never, ever forget.
Huge deal, Idia. And just before we go to Indy, let's take a lesson on this rendition by the great icon during Barack Obama's inauguration. By all means, a soulful rendition of the country's national anthem by the great Aretha Franklin. Now, Indy, I'll take this from a quote from former President Barack Obama, who says, "American history wells up when Aretha sings," a tribute to her strong lyrics, no doubt. What do you make of that?
Strong lyrics, indeed. I was just going to say to you that you were asking Idia what she be remembered for. And, I mean, one thing stands out. She's definitely the Queen of Soul. But you see, her music provoked, it brought about a change to musical history entirely. And then also brought about, or fueled, if you like, social change. I mean, these were the things that she was known for. She came from a religious background, so her music had a tint of, you know, like you have prayer, you know, respect, had a tint of religion in it. These are kind of things you remember Aretha for. And then in November, just to say to you, the tribute concert to honor the Queen of Soul will be coming up in November at the Madison Square Garden in New York. I mean, you can have anything better than that for a woman who lit up the entire music world with that brand of music.
Now, Idia, despite Aretha's having kids at a very tender age, she was determined to improve on her musical career. What does that tell you of her persona as a person?
Like I already mentioned, she was just an extremely strong woman, and she symbolized a lot of things, including just being persevering and being very strong-willed. She wanted to take control of a lot of the music that she put out, and that was something that was also very significant throughout her career. She had, you know, a lot of control over the kind of lyrics that she wrote, because she was also a songwriter in addition to being a pianist and a singer. And she wanted her lyrics to affect change, to affect how people, you know, felt about themselves, to instill hope in many lives. And I think that she was able to achieve most of that through her music and through her career and through her life.
Idia, now, Indy, on a final note, she started with gospel, and when she turned 18, in that regard, she turned to secular music. Now, it's been said that mainstream success eluded, as it were. So what do you make of this aria?
I wouldn't say that, really. Like I said earlier, she was a late bloomer. You know, she began somewhere in the 1960s. You know, it was quiet starting, but along the line, between 1967 and 1970, she hit the limelight. I mean, she just hit the limelight and broke loose. That was when she signed Atlantic Records, you know. Yeah, she began singing gospel. Of course, you can understand the fact that her father was a religious man, I mean, a pastor. You can understand that. And when you say secular, I, for one, you know, what makes music fake are the lyrics, you know. The lyrics cuts across, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Buddhist, whether you're a Christian. So really is the lyrics that make music what it is. And you couldn't take that away from Aretha. Some of the people that contributed to her singing, you had her sister, Caroline. Caroline wrote the song, the ballad, Ain't No Way, in 1968. Her sister Caroline wrote that song. And she did, you know, had to redo some of the songs that some of the people, you know, sang. For example, the Spanish Harlem in 1971, originally released by Ben Eking in 1960. So it was between the years of 1967 and 1970 that she broke loose, and then she was just flying. But before the cancer had to come into, she was supposed to sing, I can't remember quite where now, but then the doctor told her, look, you've got to just take a rest. She was disappointed, but she couldn't do anything about it. She had to rest. And that was when the cancer started telling her, you know, and she had to bow out.
Indeed, India Amugo with me here in Lagos, and of course, Idia Ison in London. Many thanks for your perspective on the late Aretha Franklin, and we'll leave you with this You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman song, which she did a rendition at the Kennedy Center during former President Barack Obama's inauguration.
Looking out on the morning rain, I used to feel so uninspired when I knew I had to face another day. Oh, it made me feel so tired. Before the day I met you, life was so unkind, but you're the key to my peace of mind. You make me feel, you make me feel, you make me feel like a natural woman. When my soul was in the lost and found, was in the lost and found, a mighty good man was on to claim it. I didn't know what was wrong with me, just what was wrong with me, to kill his kiss, help me, baby. I'm no longer down of what I'm living for. If I make you happy, I don't need you. You make me feel, you make me feel, you make me feel like a natural woman. Feel like a natural woman, yes. Oh, baby, what you got to be. You made me feel so and I just wanna be. I wanna get away. You make me feel so.
A standing ovation for a truly great icon there, Aretha Franklin. She will be missed. 10 years later, President Barack Obama to tears when she sang that song, You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, at the Kennedy Center's honor ceremony, having previously performed at his inauguration. And that's all for this edition of Arise News Now. Many thanks for being there. I'm Ni Wei-Do.